The Browns play the Ravens this week on Monday Night Football, and surprisingly, coaching has been a massive talking point for both teams coming into this game. For the Browns, Kevin Stefanski has gotten Coach of the Year consideration. For the Ravens, the opposite. John Harbaugh and Greg Roman specifically have been kind of pointed to as some of the problems with the 2020 Baltimore Ravens and why they aren't where Raven fans want them to be. So what I wanted to do this week is bring in somebody who is not only a Ravens fan to talk about this game, but also somebody who is a legitimate football coach to talk about this game. So I'm going to have Sip the Tally Films on, and we're going to talk about the Browns versus Baltimore and specifically the coaching situations on both teams. And you know what? Coaching has been such a talking point for both the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns coming into this week. So it makes sense that I bring in Baltimore's most famous coach, not on the coaching staff, Mr. Coach Evans. How you doing today, man?
I'm fine. I appreciate that intro, even though it's I wish my pockets would say that, but I appreciate the
intro. All right, man. So let's actually get into it from that aspect of it, right? Because again, we think we talked off camera before this about how coaching really seemed like more of a Cleveland problem than a Baltimore problem before the season started. But as the season has progressed, you know, Kevin Stefanski, he's in the Coach of the Year conversation. He's getting all the praise with what he's doing in the offense. And it's Greg Roman and John Harbaugh, you know, getting the ire of their fan base. And I just want to know from your perspective, one, is a lot of that warranted when it comes to the criticism of John Harbaugh and Greg Roman? And what do you see from Cleveland from a coach's perspective that either has you encouraged or not intimidated, but a little worried as a Baltimore Ravens fan?
I'm gonna take it back a little bit. If I know, you know, Cleveland and Baltimore being in the same division, so it may have been a little crossing of the news. But before Lamar took over as the quarterback, there were rumblings of Harbaugh losing his job also. But then Lamar came in and did his thing, and then last year that kind of put that to bed. Now with the offense struggling the way it is, defense, you know, being hit or miss, but that's mainly because of injuries. Those rumblings are back, and mainly because, and not because of play on the field, because of decision making. I personally, you know, don't just blame all of coaching, but the fan base itself, because I'm in 2 or 3 different group chats with different kinds of people, and those group chats love to blame coaching. They think it's all coaching. They think if Lamar skips a ball, it's coaching. If somebody misses a block, it's coaching. But you know, me being a coach, I have to try to defend those guys because it ain't all the coaching sometimes. And sometimes you can't tell that while watching the broadcast view. You got to kind of break it down on a higher level with the all 22 and then kind of try to understand what concepts or what they're trying to do. But as far as coaching, you know, if we don't get it turned around with the roster we got and with the money we're probably about to spend or spending, he definitely going to be on the hot seat. Definitely. This is a huge game for Harbaugh coming up Monday.
So let's flip it to the Cleveland Browns side. Kevin Stefanski, he's been getting a lot of praise. We know what it was with Freddie Kitchens last year, where it was an absolute clown show. It looks like he has stabilized this thing in a very meaningful way. What have you seen when you watch the Browns and when you kind of look to prepare for them?
The big difference with the Browns to me is the play of Baker. I said it last year that you guys had probably one of the best on paper offensive rosters, you know, in the league. And Baker's play didn't kind of match up to what I thought it would be. And I said, if he ever gets it together from the neck up, you guys will be dangerous. And on top of the fact that you're running the ball a lot more now, that kind of makes it extremely dangerous. So I'm kind of nervous based off of what you guys are putting up. Even though we won the first game, you know, but there are 2 different teams.
Yeah.
And that was no shade. The week 1 game will have no bearing on this Monday night game.
Yeah, it's kind of like a reverse situation. Well, not a completely reverse situation because you guys aren't as much as a mess as the 2019 Browns were. But it's kind of like that reverse situation where the Browns got that win early on in the season, looked like they were going to go up. Ravens got that win at the beginning of the season, looked like they were going to continue the path to the Super Bowl. You know, that's what the hopes were for the Ravens at the beginning of the season. And then the season kind of just went off the rails a little bit for the Ravens. They're looking to get it back on track. And again, a win on Monday Night Football will put everything back on track for Baltimore. But it's a tough task. Sweeping the Browns, haven't done that in a while. You know, the Browns are better than they have been in the last 2 years. So for you, as a coach and as somebody who looks at the game kind of at a more, I don't know, sophisticated level, what's been your frustration with this offense for Baltimore? Because it, for whatever reason, here or there, it just has not looked like 2019 at all. So I'm curious to know what your frustrations are when you watch the Baltimore Ravens and where you hope to see improvement.
Mainly the offensive line. For one, you want to have 5 guys that play together all the time so they can kind of know each other and play off each other. And a bunch of different things have limited us to not be able to do that, whether it be injury, whether it be basically the tryouts at left guard, and recently the tryout at center. And then, the last thing we just had was COVID. So the play of the O-line has really been a domino effect on everything. O-line don't play. The O-line plays bad. We have 3 and outs, maybe 4 and outs. The defense has to play longer, which makes them play bad. O-line don't play good. Lamar's looking at the rush and not receivers down the field. O-line don't play good. People don't have places to run. So it all starts with the O-line. And the lack of continuity we've had on the O-line is, I think, our biggest issue, in which the last game was probably the best game we had, even though it was the Cowboys, and they're last and everything. But 294 is still 294.
Definitely. Now let's switch about the other part of the offense that I think has just been kind of a universal disappointment with the Baltimore Ravens, which is the young wide receivers. I mean, like we're talking about, we're in week 14. You're talking about Dez Bryant being a big factor. I can't imagine that's good news for the Baltimore Ravens. A guy who hasn't been in the league for a couple of years, was on your practice squad for half the season. Right. Now you're looking at him to step up. So what's been going on? And I know anybody who watches AFC North Talk knows I go in on Marquise Brown a little bit here and there. But what's been going on with the young wide receivers there?
Just lack of production, and it still always goes back to the O-line. When the O-line don't play well, Lamar don't even give them guys a chance to get open. He's looking and trying to get up out of there. But as far as when they get the opportunity, they got to make the most out of them, and they did that Monday. But again, it's the lowly Cowboys. I don't know if that's a facade or what, but Boykins, had a touchdown. Hollywood, did his thing on a scramble drill. Dez is just simply he's there to make those guys compete, and not to be the savior. To make those guys realize, okay, they not just standing pat. They're gonna bring somebody in and try to get us going, because there are still aspirations of doing big things this year. We're not just gonna sit there and let y'all go out there and be extended O linemen. We need y'all to produce in the pass game, but the run game will help that all up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see here. Now, let's switch gears, talk about the defensive side of the ball. Had a really good performance from your secondary against Pittsburgh when you had almost everybody out on that team. One of the strongest performances, I think, from any secondary so far as we know. Like, secondary play has been terrible this NFL season.
Right.
But then you go up and play the Cowboys, and it's not as strong as a performance. I think in the magnitudes of levels, not as strong as a performance. Is the secondary just been inconsistent, or was it something that the Cowboys were doing? Like, why was there that massive difference there between the Steelers in the Cowboys, or was it just that it was the Steelers that week, so they were just motivated?
It's partially probably motivated because it was the Steelers, but secondly, honestly, in my honest opinion, the Cowboys receivers are better than the Steelers receivers. You look at CeeDee Lamb, you look at Amari Cooper, you look at Gallup, somebody the Ravens fans were screaming we should trade for, and 85. He's okay, but 85 looked like he could be in a rotation for the Ravens. So part of it is we weren't getting a pass rush, but the Cowboys receivers are better by far. Not by far, but they're better than the Steelers receivers, because I really don't have any kind of liking to Juju other than him like making short routes and getting stuff. But I think Claypool is their best guy, and the other 2 guys are kind of specialists. But as far as a whole, I think the Cowboys receivers are better. But as far as the Ravens secondary, we are inconsistent at times. Marcus guesses a lot, and sometimes he gets wrong, and it's a glaring, is either a big first down or a touchdown when he guesses wrong. But when they lock in, they're pretty good. And if they find a key or find a tail, they will have a tendency to lock you down. But they haven't been consistent other than Marlon all year long. And you got to keep in mind, them guys been bouncing in and out too. Jimmy didn't play last week, probably won't play this week. Avery just came back from being hurt for like 6 weeks. Our safeties are in. Our safeties are in. But, it's just inconsistent. And when you put Chuck down in the box, it's tough to make him tackle. When people get us in bad situations and they drop Chuck down and then they run the ball, Chuck don't have no bricks in his pocket.
That's interesting. Now, another place where I was assuming before the season that you guys would be much improved in, and it's been kind of inconsistent, is that defensive line. I mean, you look at it on paper, Derek Wolfe, Brandon Williams, Calais Campbell, Matt Judon, and you added Unique Ngakoue, but it's just not been there, not consistently, hardly at times at all, for a defensive line that has that level of talent on there. So what's going on with that defensive line? And is this something that Browns fans should expect to show up on Monday Night Football?
Most definitely. I think they're going to have most of those guys back. And we've been good against the run. It's just generating pass rush that's been the problem. We've been fairly okay against the run. I think we held Zeke. I think Tony Pollard may have outrushed Zeke, or they were somewhere that he didn't have his normal games that he used to have. But we've been pretty stout against the run. It's the pass rush that has not been getting there. And part of that is injuries, because we play Yannick Ngakoue, and we know he's not a run stuffer. But he was stuck in that situation against Pittsburgh because Calais was out, because all those people were out because of COVID. And he's really a third down, a pass rush specialist. And he's this close from having 6 or 7 sacks. Maybe some sack fumbles also at that. And it's almost there. But again, it's inconsistency with injuries, some of the play calling, and COVID. I think we were starting to put it all together when that outbreak jumped. Even though we had lost the game, I think the health was coming together. Everybody was starting to understand schemes. And then that torrid week just threw everything. And then I think the effort versus the Steelers got everybody hopeful. The Cowboys just happened to be at a good time, so we can kind of ease guys back into the fold, and that ended up going good for us. And so now we just got to be full strength for Monday, because this to me, this is really the season. We technically could lose this game and still get in, but you don't want to lose this game and then have to depend on 5 or 6 other people to get in.
Yeah, that'd be like 6 AFC losses, so the conference record would be a massive factor when it comes to tiebreakers there for the Ravens. Definitely see it's a must-win game. Let's actually switch gears and talk about that game, Coach. What concerns you about the Browns, and then where also do you see a opportunity to attack against this Cleveland Browns team?
What concerns me offensively for the Browns is Hunt catching the ball in the backfield. That's what concerns me. Us covering guys down the field and Hunt leaking out and extending drives. I think they're going to be pretty locked in on the run. I'm not saying they're going to stop it, but they're going to be pretty locked in on the run. But when you get in pass situations or play action situations and one of those guys leak out, whether it be Hunt or Chubb, they could turn a 3-yard pass into 60. Just like that. And that's what scares the bejesus out of me, because those guys in the flats, and we run downfield playing man, which everybody know we like to do, and they get ahead of steam and make one person miss, and it's a house call. Or just us in a crucial situation in like 3rd, like 8, where we got to have a stop, and they throw a screen and they turn it into a 30, 40-yard pass. Defensively, what scares me is Myles Garrett. Now, I don't know what other way to say that. My admiration for Myles Garrett is extremely high, because anytime I do fantasy drafts on Madden, he's always my first pick. Always. Because I know what kind of player he is. And us not having Stanley, and I did a video last year about Stanley versus all the AFC North rushers, and he had an okay game versus Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, I don't think he maybe had a sack, but that's it. But now you putting Orlando over there, who's not as fleet of foot as Stanley, or you putting him on the other side, which we don't know if it's going to be Fluker or Phillips. And that's what scares me. Putting Myles on the offensive right and passing situations.
Yes. Now, one of the things the Browns, it's been weird when you look at the run defense, because on paper it looks terrible. But if you look at it, they have a specific ability to stop the run on the edges that's there, but a complete inability to run the ball. To stop the run from the inside, the interior runs. And what I've noticed from the Ravens this year is they can still do the outside zone stuff, the off tackle really well at a high level. Lamar did that really well this week against the Cowboys. But what I think's been one of the big key difference is obviously also you just not having the same depth at the tight end position for this Ravens offense this year has been the inability where you would get those Mark Ingram 8-yard gashes, up the middle pretty consistently. And you have a guy in Gus Edwards who seems to be able to do that. I don't know if it's hesitancy with the inside of the offensive line not playing as well as last year, that they just don't want to use him in that way. But I think that's been one of the things. And I think if the Ravens aren't going to run it up the middle, that's going to leave an opportunity for the Cleveland Browns to be able to stop some of the run stuff, maybe get them behind the sticks there. Mm-hmm. And once you get the Ravens behind the sticks, that's where more of their warts show. Does that concern you at all as a Ravens fan?
I think if you don't know, Gus went over 100 Monday, which you could, as here or there with it being the Cowboys. But I think he's going to be that guy that does that dive type stuff because he's just good at it. And as far as I'm concerned, Ingram should be back number 4 because what Dobbins gives us, what Gus gives us, what Justice Hill did against the Steelers. Ingram should be back number 4, as far as I'm concerned. But Ingram's the cheer, the hype guy, which I understand and I love it. But Gus pounding the ball, Gus is about 6'2", probably about 230, 240. Probably just as big, if not bigger, than some of you guys linebackers. So who's going to want to take that pounding for 2, 3, 4 quarters? We got to establish that to even have a chance on the outside. Because if we don't establish up the middle, we're not going to have a chance on the outside.
Now, do you think Greg Roman's going to feel confident doing that? Because he just hasn't caught them as much. I think you had it a couple times against the Cowboys where I was watching you guys. I was like, there's that up the middle gash that they usually get. But, consistently throughout the season, they just have not called it. And I don't know if that's confidence with the center. I know that's been a whole mess this year. But do you think that issue is going to be solved to a point to where Greg Roman's going to have confidence calling that? Because I do believe if you guys call that consistently, it's going to be there against the Browns.
And it doesn't have to be 7, 8 yards. It just needs to be called frequently to make people respect the edge. Because if they don't respect the edge and they can play the middle with 2 people, maybe 3, with the 2 tackles and the mic, the edge, you don't have an edge because you're gonna have people out there. But I think it depends on if he has confidence in that middle battery. And what I mean by middle battery is that left guard, center, right guard. If he has confidence in that, which, Powers played pretty good and McCarr played pretty good and Bozeman was in that spot last year. So if he has confidence in the O-line to run that, because that needs to be a staple. That was our staple last year, and that needs to go back to being a staple. Whether we get 2 yards or whatever, because that sets up everything else. It sets up play action. It sets up the outside runs. It sets up Lamar keeping the ball on fakes. That's the staple. That's the identity that we haven't established that we did every game last year.
Yeah, and when you're worried about that middle, when it comes to the run, that's what opens up Mark Andrews so much on those RPOs. When people are worried, you're going to go straight up the middle. It's been interesting to see that just hasn't been there. But what do you see as a Raven fan? So you're like, okay, this is how we can win this game. How do you think the Ravens could win this game against a Browns team that's coming in playing pretty good football?
For one, control the clock. Keep those guys, keep the defense fresh. And I've been complaining about time possession all year as a Ravens fan. And early in the year, we were not winning time possession, but we're still winning the game. But in the games we lost, we definitely got, scorched in time possession. So we need to keep the ball, maintain drives, and keep the Browns' offense off the field. And that means running the ball. That means converting third downs, 4th and 1s, converting them because I know it's going to be some crucial ones out there. And just staying ahead of the chains. You mentioned it earlier. If we get behind the chains, that's in favor of you guys. Stay ahead of the chains. Don't be cute in certain situations. Just make them stop what you're good at, and that's running the ball. And then, come to something else. If they never show you they can stop the run, keep doing it. Don't be cute. Do it, and then once it's stopped and once they show you they got a plan for it, then adjust. But then again, that might be the weakness right there. The last word I said, adjust.
Why you say that?
Because sometimes in my opinion, we don't seem to adjust well when somebody has a plan for what we want to do. We don't seem to go in the halftime or go drive the drive and make little tweaks and nuances to different stuff. And this amazed me. I don't know if you saw it or not. Steve Smith was on NFL Network and talked about Greg Roman the other day. He showed a formation from 2009, from 2012 to this year. Same formation, same play.
Hmm.
Now it's different on my level. I teach all day, and have to do other things besides coaching. All these dudes do is football all day.
Yeah.
So variety needs to be have your staple, but it needs to look different. It needs window dressing. It shouldn't look the same all the time. You have guys that are paid to play football. You can give them an unlimited amount of formations. Well, that's another problem. We get a legal formation once a game. but still. And I know I sound like I'm bitching, and Baltimore fans probably going to rake my coals. But I still got faith in our team. And like I said early in the year, as long as we're ascending this time of year, I'm good with it. We've had all the negative and bad things that can happen to happen. It just needs to be ascending this time of year in December.
All right. Well, you know what? It finally looks like we're on our way to getting that game that we thought we were going to get week 1. We did not get that game. The Browns did not show up to that game week 1. So maybe Monday Night Football, even though, small dig here, Ravens haven't really showed up on national TV other than, when they played the Cowboys this year. But, hopefully we get to see the game that we have been begging to see since week 4 of last year, a competitive, good game, national TV, spotlights on. This game means a lot. The Browns can clinch the playoffs if they win this game. Baltimore, if they don't win this game, they're gonna have to do. They're gonna have to do that one meme where the guy is like standing in front of the bus, standing in front of the board, and trying to figure out how it is.
You know what? You said that on AFC North Talk last week, but I had already did that at my desk earlier that day. And that's why I made the video last week about all these different scenarios, how the Ravens gonna get in. That was me early in the day when you said that. But I still think Dolphins gonna let us in. I really
literally
Dolphins gonna let us in.
Literally, last year, that's what I was doing. The Browns were like at 5 and 6. I was like, oh, we can still get in if like Buffalo loses out, and then it's just a terrible spot to be in as a fan when you have to like worry about all those things. But yeah, the Dolphins could definitely let you in. The Raiders, I don't know what they're doing. They have been just their football. They played such good games against the Browns and the Chiefs, and then they blow a game to the Falcons, almost blow a game to the Jets. But the one thing I would say that would be concerning if I was a Ravens fans, the Patriots look like they're starting to surge.
Yes.
They have that tiebreaker over you. And honestly, look, I'm not trying to play Bill Belichick in the playoffs at any point. So that's a 7th seed that I don't think anybody wants in there. So a lot of the NFL's problem.
People don't realize how good their O-line is. That's what I had to make the Ravens fan realize. Their O-line is top tier.
Yeah.
Their weakness is at center. But I know with this being your show, what is it about the Ravens that concern you the most?
I would say if they can get that middle run going, that and the defensive line having the potential to get penetration. If there's two things that have been the Browns' Achilles heel, if you look at the Raiders game, the Raiders can't run to the edge to save their lives, but they can run up the middle. They gashed the Browns. They took time of possession. They completely dominated the game. Browns had like 5-6 possessions the entire game because of that. So that's a big problem. If the Ravens can do that at the same level they could do it last year, that's going to be a massive problem for the Cleveland Browns. Another thing that concerns me is the defensive line for the Ravens being able to get penetration. The one thing that really stops the Browns offense and the zone play actions things, the Shanahan style offense is penetration on the defensive line level. We played a lot of teams that had good linebackers and they're good run stopping teams because they have good linebackers. They didn't really do anything because Nick Chubb versus a linebacker. Yeah, Nick Chubb winning that battle. So I don't care how good your linebacker is. But when it comes to the defensive line, if you can penetrate within that zone read, specifically if the Browns aren't careful about how much they run towards Jedrick Wills because he's a good pass blocker, he's not a great run blocker yet, you can start to penetrate that area. So like seeing like a Calais Campbell being matched up, or like if they scheme up some stuff with Jedrick Wills there, I think Calais can have a big game. And if you get the Browns behind the sticks, it's not completely a problem, but if you can also get that pass rush going, that starts to shake up what the Browns could do. Because if the Browns can't run the ball, I have confidence that Baker can get you those 3rd and longs whenever you need them, because he's done that for about 6 straight weeks here in this offense. He's actually been really good at that. It's just if you can get pressure consistently on Baker Mayfield, that's where I'm like, I don't know if he's there yet where he can find his passing windows on the fly. I think that's a 2-3 year thing where like, hey, in his 4th year, he's able to do that. But I don't know if he's there yet. So, any team that has the potential to penetrate on the line of scrimmage is a team that gives the Browns some cause for concern, because that's the thing. That's why I'm like, I don't want to play Pittsburgh in the playoffs, because they can do one thing. That's exactly what they can do, and that's the one thing you need to do to stop the Browns. So that's what I'm concerned about. I also think the Browns have some matchup advantages here. I think Baltimore matches up a little bit better than Tennessee did. I felt like Tennessee didn't match up well at all with Cleveland when you looked at some of the small details here. But again, if Baltimore is playing like how they have all season, the Browns should be able to stop some of the outside zone. They're not going to completely shut it down, but they're going to be able to stop a lot of the off tackle and stuff like that, especially if Miles is back to being 100% healthy 2 weeks after being on the list. I think they'll be able to stop that. I also think, if we can get Denzel Ward back, that'll be a huge plus, because then I'm not worried about being beat over top by any wide receiver or somebody having a big day, because that kind of shores things up there. And then, it depends on which Ravens team shows up. Is the Raven team that gives the effort against Pittsburgh going to show up? Or is the Raven team that, if that Raven team that beat the Cowboys shows up on Monday Night Football, the Browns are probably going to win comfortably, in my opinion, because I think that they weren't playing well enough to beat a team like how the Browns are playing right now. So it's going to be interesting to see where the effort is, how motivated they are after coming off of a blowout win on the Cleveland Browns. So it's not like they have anything to get revenge for. I'm just interested to see how they're going to come out, because this is a huge game for them. And this is a big game for the Browns, but it's a much bigger game for the Baltimore Ravens.
Most definitely. You know what happened when you bag a hungry dog in the corner?
Hey, you got to bite. You got to bite, or you got to get into the shelter.
It's time to blank or get off the pot right now. That's what we at.
All right, most definitely. Coach, thank you for coming on. Let them know where to find you, man.
Sip the Salad Films on YouTube. And I know a lot of you guys probably won't care about my Ravens content, but what you do is go to my page, hit the subscribe button, and when the season is over with, you get a lot of draft content. And I don't just do draft content for Ravens. I do all the top prospects that I can get film on. So if you just like football, you can come to my channel for that. And I know you're probably not gonna watch the Ravens stuff, which is understandable, but come there for some good football talk in the off season. I appreciate you, Quincy.
Oh yeah, no problem. And hey, by the way, Browns fans, y'all need to watch it, because you need to get that education on them. And while he's breaking down the Ravens, he also tells you about football, basic concepts, starts to, get it more complex. And that way you can start to have a better understanding of this just by watching guys like him. I know Vach, he's really good at that. That's how I've been able to kind of step my game up to the point where I can break that. Yeah, this is the coach of Vach. So y'all like when Vach is on here, even though Vach is really confident about them Cowboys. It was unfortunate week 4. It was real unfortunate for him. But thank you again, Coach, for coming on. Check his channel out. And guys, have a great day and have a good night.